Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Liners, a series centered around key influencers and players in the performance marketing space. I am really excited to be joined by my friend Colleen Butterfield. Colleen, please say hello.
Hello.
Hey, it's so good to see you. So, Colleen and I had the I really had the opportunity to work together when we were building out sales at DMS, Digital Media Solutions. And I was just chatting with Colleen before we jumped on and hit record that I think our good friend Christina On introduced us. And I remember coming out to visit you in Long Beach, and we sat on
Yep.
WeWork and we started working out the plan to bring you on board and grow some sales and new product stuff. But a lot has happened since then. So how you doing?
I'm doing really well. I mean, it feels like 20 lifetimes ago that I met Christina was at DMS, but I think it's the performance marketing dog years coming back.
I know. It does. It is. That's a great way to describe it because it is like dog years. We do the grind, the hustle. Just it wears, and you just the years pass by, and you're like, man, like that does seem like an eternity.
I
um,
know.
so it was seriously, you really helped me build out what like client success at DMS. You really took a lot into building strategic relationships and growing. You were really good, strong partner to me and really helped me. In all the sales across different categories and business lines at DMS, which was a fun challenge, right? And
Yeah.
but I was super happy for you. You had caught on to the solar space.
Mhm.
You were helping us build out the solar vertical, and you've really worked your way up. Fast, super fast.
I have. I
And
have.
so yeah, tell us a little bit about like what's gone on like since you left DMS. Kind of tell us your career path there.
I've always had a passion for renewables and sustainability. And so I think solar was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
And living in California where it thrives. So being really close to it.
Yes.
My superpower, some might say, is sort of visualizing growth plans that not just taking what's in front of you right now, but where the company wants to go, and then putting in step-by-step strategic initiatives and levers to pull based on whatever is really important to the company now and in 5 years, 10 years. So I did get into solar. I joined a company called Momentum Solar. And so, they're a really strong player in the space and ended up getting an opportunity from, I wouldn't call them a startup at 1,500 employees, but those were mostly salespeople. So they were a startup-ish like company, really scrappy, really wanted to go public. And having gone through 3, 4 IPOs, they were really interested in how I could get them to that next level so that they could be acquired and sort of streamline their systems from a marketing perspective. So SunPro became
Sunpro, yeah.
ADT Solar. They were acquired by this little home security company called ADT. And now I oversee all the marketing functions from content, creative, marketing operations, paid media, organic media there. So it's been a really wild and fun ride. They don't call it the solar coaster for nothing.
Yeah, and so solar coaster. I think I look at you as like the solar queen. Like is that fair? Like you've gone from look at all these big operations and what you've helped accomplish at each one of them along the way. Really, really cool. Like to go through an acquisition is and to be able to focus on keep running the business. I've gone through so many of them, whether it was my previous business Double Positive or obviously we did a lot at DMS, but just to get uphill to get to the top, to get that deal done, just so many challenges to come across and still do your job. So,
It
congratulations. Obviously, it's one of the
is.
biggest acquisitions I've seen. And
It's a mass. In the solar
yeah,
space, that's huge. So,
yes,
and I
yeah,
always say with our team, just jokingly, when we accomplish something massive, and then like, and guess what? Job's not done. Like
I like
sun rises
that. That's
tomorrow. So,
it. That's it. We're just getting
yeah.
started. So there has been a an acquisition that was announced in our space, in the lead gen side, just recently, right around the LeadsCon time, Colossus got acquired by PX. So, what are your general thoughts on acquisitions within the performance marketing space? Do you think it's really good for us? Do you see any more coming down the line?
So there was the PX and Colossus was a major one. Obviously, Heather Griffin worked at
Hmm.
Colossus. She's a close friend of mine,
Hey,
so I was
Heather.
really excited for her. And one of my best friends, Tiffany, also works there. And so
Yeah.
really, I was psyched for them just to see them go through that process. It was a smart move on PX's behalf, really bringing in solar experts so that
Hmm.
they could grow that channel.
Hmm.
I have worked with PX on solar for quite some time. So it was exciting to see them really investing back into that channel. Also, Enphase Energy, which is a massive manufacturer, actually bought Solar Lead Factory shortly before that. So I think we'll see a lot more of that developing, and people really want to take ownership of the lead generation process. And who
Yeah.
can blame them kind of with the FCC rulings coming up and all of
Yeah.
that? You want to own your brand and own that process.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of lead gen, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I lived through some of this with you too, is a lot of lead gen in the solar space would come through, indirect cross sells, a
Mhm.
lot of list management. And that happened for a long time. You knew that somebody was a homeowner, you were able to market to them, you knew they said that, or they were eligible, but I think given where the FCC notice of proposed rulemaking
Yep.
is coming in, is that we're going to have clear consent for that product and maybe for that direct entity, or we are. It's something to that's going to happen. So I
Yeah.
agree with you that focusing more on your own consumer funnels, I think, is going to be key evolution. And is that kind of where you guys are going to with your lead funnels as well?
It is. And, the ADT Octagon is like a superpower. It's a brand, it's a force
Yes.
to be reckoned with, right? So
Yes.
why not lean into that? But I would say too, solar is unique in that it's a real education process. So people know car insurance, they know renter's insurance, even life insurance to some aspect. But solar is something that one, it goes on your home. It's there for
Hmm.
25 to 50 years. And
Hmm.
so, it's a big decision. And so I think
It
people
is.
really want to not just put their info into a form. They kind of want to go on that learning journey and discovery with you. So we're really
Yeah.
diving into that.
Good. Yeah. So it's not only just about consumer experience in the lead funnel, but you can do more of that content or helping them make that big life cycle decision by educating them more versus for direct offering versus that traditional cross sell
Yep.
from another. I get it. I'm all for it. Do you think there was a time during like the Obama administration? I remember because I was still, you know, there was a big push for this federal rebate, and there was a blitz in performance marketing. Solar City was going bonkers with buying
Yeah.
records. Do you? A lot of people try in our space try to speculate. What's the next big vertical? Where things going to explode? Is there any kind of rumblings under this administration? I remember during the election cycle, there was a talks about the Green Deal expansion.
Mhm.
Are you guys hearing any of this stuff? Like, I don't know how deep you get into like politics and but like, is there any? And we don't have to talk sides of
Yeah.
the politics, but is there any rumblings about expansion of going deeper into incentivizing consumers to do more with solar?
There has to be. There has to be. It's clean energy as a whole. So that could
Right.
be wind, it could be like any hydro, all these things. So solar is just one component of that. But obviously California is leaning in very heavily. There's
Yep.
always going to be that push and pull, just depending on, where people go with that. The tax credits are a bonus. Really, like solar helps to I kind of be like the cornerstone of that. it's one piece of the puzzle as far as sustainability and clean energy. So I think that overall space is going to grow and solar will grow with it.
I love it. I recently moved to Southern California. That's the first time I've owned solar panels. So I'm learning myself firsthand.
Yeah.
But I agree. It is. I think it's cool, especially to live here and know that it makes such an impact. And I think hopefully consumers, realize that and the government, quite frankly, realize that there's the need to continue to expand that into other places that can take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
cool.
You have
Like
battery backup, Joey?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have this big panel. I have all these panels, and I have an app that helps me track my savings. But that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
look into
It's
that.
it's one of the things we always talk about, right? Because of the benefits as I guess big utility companies aren't adopting. One of the big things with solar is that you have these rolling blackouts in California and you have
Yeah,
inconsistencies and outages in the grid. And so, like EV charging, battery backup, so that you have
yeah.
power when those things happen. That's really like the attachment of all of those things working together is where I see the growth of solar in the future.
I was gonna ask you, where do you see the future? And that's awesome. Like you obviously talked about the lead side, but then obviously you're right. Like I've heard last year with a lot of the rolling blackouts, and so taking that extra step further to to protect your house, protect your family, like do the things that you
Yep.
still are important. I think is a great evolution, and to do it with keeping our amazing land, and world
Yeah.
and planet, first, which I
Mhm.
think we all want to do and protect to stay here much longer. So um, I'm all for that. You guys recently, I saw on LinkedIn you announced like a podcast.
Yeah.
It's what goes on? Is podcast more for consumers? Is it more for like lead gen industry folks, or what are you guys doing there with on your podcast?
So the podcast is called Good Energy and
Nice.
it's brought to you by ADT Solar. But what we really talk about is solar sustainability as a whole, as a concept, new products, where the industry is going, new regulations, news headlines. And then we usually try and wrap it up with some kind of like fun project you can do with your kids or like
Oh
household
yeah.
cleaners or other ways that you can, help the environment.
That's odd. Like that goes back to your education and how many people know like ADT, has the solar. So it's good for you to get out and just get that
Yeah.
messaging out there because SunPro was a major player in the space, right? And so it's now
Mhm.
combining efforts under, like I said, this major household name in ADT, but
Yep.
getting more awareness and education. Um, have you guys done any? Obviously, there's so much out there with AI right now. Is there any? Have you guys done any implementation with that yet within your workflow, or talking to consumers about it? Like everywhere I read on Twitter or constantly in the news, it's just and Elon. There's just so much with chat, so
Yeah.
and Chat GPT, but there's so many more platforms now. So are you guys looking into any of that type of stuff as well?
We are. It's funny when people talk about AI, because in lead generation specifically, it's
Yeah.
always been here. People just
Yes.
didn't call it AI, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
the Google algorithms, the way that
Yes.
we predict audiences and those things have been around for a really long time. They're just kind
Yes.
of the shiny object now. And so we definitely use them. We've used them for a long time. Um, the one thing is like ChatGPT and the way that it can influence content, can write
Hmm.
scripts for you. I
Hmm.
think those things will see much higher adoption in the coming months, coming years. There's this fear that it's going to take over jobs
Right.
and whatnot, but there's always the human element. So I think what'll happen is you guys will, and lead generators, marketers as a whole, will just have those as tools in their toolbox, and get more efficient. I see this as like the new age Excel. So
Right.
Excel and formulas and pivot tables were the cool new thing like
Yeah.
a really long time ago, but they just helped us get more efficient and
Yes.
focus on other things. And so,
Yeah, there's this fear, this dark fear, you know, of it's going to take over. But I think I've learned from the people that have can bring it into their everyday lives to complement and start easing it into their, you know, what they do, how they help their career. There's a
mhm,
way the human can oversee it, and we're still in the early evolution. Like, well, back up. Like you said, it's been in lead gen for a while, but it's
yeah,
now something we can openly discuss. Like it's been in SMS for a while. It's just something
yep,
now you can even say to a consumer, "Hey, I'm your AI specialist now." Versus just trying to pretend that you're a human. Now you can disclose it, and it's mainstream. It's fine.
yeah.
But I think you're right from a front lines perspective in a creative space or communicating to consumers. It's a great tool. It just has, you know, use the human element to complement with it, and we'll see that kind of play out the rest of this year and going into next year, and see where it continues to take us. So it's pretty cool. Anything else you want to share about what you're doing? And like, it's super cool to, you know, I really appreciate you coming on because hear a lot about solar and I've tried to jump in a little bit when I can, but like you're in the thick of it. So anything else in the performance marketing community that is out there today that we should be looking at?
It's funny. I think performance marketing is all based on relationships, right?
Hmm.
It's like we're all this funny little like island of misfit toys that all work together for the last 20 years. And so that's what I love about it. And I think for solar, you have your cast of players. I would really love to see more people get into this space. And it's going to grow very much into the size of mortgage, into the size of
Yeah.
various other industries. And so I'm excited to see more people sort of take that leap and get interested in marketing specific to this industry because there's very few resources right now. So
Yes.
not a lot of
Awesome.
experts in this space for performance marketing.
Is there any shows that, you know, obviously you have in performance marketing, we have LeadsCon, Lead Generation World, we have our, you know, contacts. Is there any specific solar shows that they're out there that you know of that make sense?
There are, so SolarCon is one that just recently launched, but that's really towards solar sales.
Okay.
A lot of the lead generators go
Yeah.
to that show just so that they can interact,
Yeah.
with people and companies. But no, not really. There's not a
Interesting.
specific solar marketing show. It's very much anything like RE plus, anything like that is
Right.
surrounding manufacturing, and marketers will just show up and try and network.
Right. Well, I agree. So I think in the performance marketing space, I'll put this out there then to the show directors that I know and that run these big shows is let's have some more content around solar. So the
Mhm.
publishers, the lead generators, the contact centers, they can know how to get in and speak to openly to folks like Colleen to just get a better sense of what their goals are, what their objectives are, what they're trying to accomplish. It we as a community are very tight. Like I said, it's all about relationships, and I think sometimes we get stuck at shows where we can't, you know, open up new doors, but that's where business development really happens now with the pandemic, post pandemic, we're all scattered. You know, it's hard to go one off to, you know, see somebody in a specific location. They may not have an open office anymore. So let's
Mhm.
get more of that going at the show. So hint, hint, show people, let's get that going. And um, before I let you go, and you can be openly honest, I have to ask you because I loved working with you, but tell
Yeah,
everybody how horrible it was to work for me. Was I like
not,
was
not
I the
horrible
worst
at
boss
all.
ever?
I think so the one thing that I learned from working for Joey Liner is you really empower people to sort of take something, take full ownership, and then you would be the guidepost, right? So like you're helping somebody not fall off a cliff, but really developing their own ideas and feeling confident in presenting those ideas and like being put into the spotlight and taking ownership of programs, presentations, whatever that is. So I think that's sort of prepared me for being thrust into the spotlight and taking over these what became massive marketing programs. So without that, I don't know that I would have been quite as prepared.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet and kind of you. And yes, I do love that um, somebody like you who came in with the confidence and the ability to be very successful within helping, me in my role, CRO, just I knew that you had all the talent and skill, and I just wanted you to keep continuing to flourish. And when you left, I called you, I pleaded, I begged, I said, go. But at the end when we hung up, I was really happy for you because I knew you needed to advance your career, and you could have done that at DMS, but I think you carved out something really special for what you and now you're in a position to take one of the largest home entities, household brands, and take it to a whole new. The challenge is there, like you said, just to get solar across more homes in America. I'm excited for you. I miss you, but I'm excited when we see each other at shows, and I'm just
Yeah.
really, really happy for you, my friend.
Well, thank you. And it's something that I incorporate into my own management style. So hire the smart people and really let them do what they do, right? So,
Amen. Amen. Well, good to see you. Thank you
yes,
for jumping on one liners. We really appreciate it. For
thanks for
everybody
having
out there, please like our page, on YouTube and LinkedIn. We really appreciate that. And follow Colleen's on, her podcast as well. And you can reach out to Colleen as well on LinkedIn. It's always a great business networking place. So,
me.
Colleen,
Yes,
thank you again, my friend.
thank you.
All right. Bye bye.